So today we're doing word problems involving equations. Now this can be tricky, alright, so we have to be very careful with how we approach these questions. So I'm giving you a few tips to start with. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is always look at what you are asked to find. Now generally that will be at the end of the question. I'll give you the information first and the question will be at the end. So when you find what you've been asked to find, you've got to let a letter equal that thing. Okay, that's really, really important. I'll explain it as we do some questions on this, but it's really important you do that first. Otherwise you can be in a real mess with your working. Okay, after that you then go back and you read all the given information at the beginning of the question and write an equation using all that information. It will involve the letter that you've used here, but that will sort itself out as we're going. Okay, and at the end you will be solving an equation and then you'll be answering the question. Always reread the question and make sure you did actually answer it at the end. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples. So the first question here, when 7 is subtracted from 4 times a certain number, the answer is 37. What is the number? So the question that you're actually asked to find, what is the number? Okay, so we're going to let n equal the number. Now I've chosen n because it's the first letter of the word number. You could say let x equal the number, but I just think it's easier if it's something that is representative of what you're trying to find, because it'll be in your head a little bit clearer what's going on then. Okay, so now that we've said we're going to let n equal the number, let's go back and read it again. When 7 is subtracted from 4 times a certain number. Now, where it has a certain number, we've said that that's going to be n. So if you just get your red pen and write that above those words, now let's read it again. When 7 is subtracted from 4 times n. So that's what we're doing. When 7 is subtracted from 4 times n. So 4 times n, subtract the 7. The answer is, is equals 37. So there's your equation being formed. I've rewritten it just because we're used to 4 times n looking like 4n, but you don't have to do that. Alright, so now we're going to solve the equation as usual. Moving that to the other side. Do the opposite over there. Work that out. And now we've got to get rid of our times 4 here. Go to the other side, do the opposite. Divide by 4. Always write your divisions as a fraction, remember, and then work that out on your fraction key of your calculator, and we get n equals 11. So we have found the number. Now you might say, well, I think I could have guessed that the number was 11. Well, that's nice, but most of these questions are going to say, write an equation and solve it to answer the question. So if you don't have an equation, you won't get any marks, even if you guess 11. All right, so we do need to do all this working. All right, number 2. A rectangle is 4 times as long as it is wide. The perimeter of the rectangle is 100 centimetres. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So we go straight to the end. What are they asking for? They're asking for the dimensions of the rectangle. Now, a lot of people don't really understand what dimensions are, especially if I say find the dimensions of a triangle, find the dimensions of a circle. They're the things that make up the area formula, okay? So what makes up the area formula? Now, for a rectangle, area equals length times breadth. So those two things we're looking for are going to be your length and your breadth. Okay, and we're used to calling those L and B. So I'm still going to write them up the top here though. Let L equals the length and let B equal the breadth. Even though it's obvious, we're still going to write it that way. Now, whenever they're talking about a shape, right, you can see it's a rectangle, draw it. All right, whatever the shape is, draw what they're talking about. And then you can just start to put things on it. Okay, so we know that L is the length, B is the breadth, so we're going to write those on. Now let's go back and read the question. A rectangle is 4 times as long as it is wide. All right, so that means that we've got a width or a breadth. Let's write it as B. Now the length is 4 times B. Okay, so we can write that down now as 4 times B, or 4B. Okay, now, the perimeter is 100 centimetres. So we know how to find perimeter. We add up all the sides. So let's just start working out a perimeter like we normally would. So we're going to do 4B plus B plus another 4B plus another B. And then we're going to put in, we know the perimeter is 100. So over here we're going to put the 100 in for the perimeter. We're going to collect all our like terms over here. Don't forget these are 1Bs that we have here. 4B plus 1B plus 4B plus 1B equals 10B. And then we're solving our equation. So we need to get rid of our times 10, come to the other side and divide by the 10. Put it over 10, work it out on your calculator, and we've got 10. Now, I haven't left enough room here, but we'll fit it in a second. Alright, so we've solved that equation, and we've got B equals 10. So we know the breadth of that rectangle is 10 centimetres. Alright, now, our length. If you have a look over here, I might just move this up here, just follow me with the working. Alright, so to find the other dimension, which is our length, we know that it's equal to 4B. And so now, to find our length, we can just put our breadth in there now, which is 10. We know that's 10. And work it out, and we get 40. So there's your two answers. You can write a conclusion at the end there for the length is 40 centimetres and the breadth is 10 centimetres. And you're finished. Okay, so always look back at the question. Did we answer it? Find the dimensions of the rectangle. Yes, we found the length and the breadth. Okay, the next question. Now this one, they've given you a diagram. It's got two parallel line marks with these arrows, and they've got a couple of angles in there. So it says calculate the size of each marked angle. All right, now in this one you don't actually really have to say let anything equal anything because the letter's already there. We've got x's already here. So what do we know about these two angles in these parallel lines? Well, if you go around these angles with your red pen, join them in the middle and make sure you're looking at it like that. So we've got the parallel lines going across and we can see a C shape forming. So when you see that C shape forming, you know that you have co-interior angles, and we know that co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees when we have parallel lines. Okay, so let's look at this. So what I've done is written this angle, which is 2 outside 4x minus 3. I've added this angle, 7 bracket x plus 3, and those two angles have to add up to 180 because co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees in parallel lines. So what we're doing now is expanding the brackets, and we'll be collecting like terms in a minute. So if I expand the brackets, I have 8x minus 6 plus 7x plus 21. Now I'm going to collect my like terms. 8x plus 7x is 15x. Minus 6 plus 21 is plus 15. And we're going to keep going till we've solved our equation here. We get rid of the plus 15, come to the other side and subtract it. That gives you 165. Then we're getting rid of our times 15. Go to the other side and divide by it. And go to your calculator and work that out. And we'll end up with 11. So we've got an x equals 11. Now a lot of people will get there and go, good, finish that question and I'll move to the next one. Have you done what it asked? It didn't say calculate the value of x. It said calculate the size of each marked angle, which means they want these two angles found. So we're going to do them one at a time and see what these angles are. Right, so the first one is 2 bracket 4x minus 3. Now, if we put in the x value of 11 now, you can put that straight in the calculator and work it out just like that. And it should end up giving you 82, and it's an angle, so I'm going to put degrees on it. Now, for the other angle, if this one here worked out just then to be 82 degrees, what's the other angle going to be? Well, you can just find that yourself. You know they've got to add up to 180, so the other angle will then be 180 degrees, take away 82 degrees, and that will leave you with 98 degrees for the other angle. Or you could have taken this and put the 11 in there and still ended up with 98 degrees, whichever way you want. All right, the next question we're doing, the sum of 3 consecutive numbers is 87. Find the numbers. So what are they asking for? The numbers. So there's 3 of them that you're finding. So we're going to let n equal the first number. Now you have to really understand what consecutive means to be able to write these other bits in. So consecutive means one number after another. Okay, so it might be 57, 58 and 59. They are 3 consecutive numbers. It might be -5, -4, -3. They're consecutive numbers. So it's one after another. So to get from one number to the next consecutive number, you're adding 1. So I'm going to take the n and add 1. That will give me the second consecutive number. And what will give me the third one? Add another 1 again, and you'll get n plus 2 there. All right, so our numbers are going to be n plus 1, n plus 2. Now we're going to go back to the question and see what they told us. They said the sum, which means we're adding, of all of these added up. Let's go. And then it says is, which means equals 87. So all we're doing now is solving this equation. So n plus n plus n, 1n plus 1n plus 1n is 3n, plus 1 plus 2 is plus 3, and we're going to keep going solving this equation. So we're getting rid of the plus 3 first. That will end up giving us 3n equals 84. And then one step to go. Just continue up the top here. Get rid of the 3 by dividing by it. So we get rid of this. Okay, and then go to calculate with that, and you should end up with, let's see, 28. And you get n equals 28, so we're finished. No, we haven't finished, because the question said find the numbers, and all you did was found n. N was the first number, but we want 3 numbers. So therefore, 28 would be our first consecutive number. And remember how to get to the next 2? You should know it now. Just add 1. So the other 2 numbers will be 29 and 30. There's your 3 consecutive numbers. So don't stop short, all right? It's not very much to go to the answer, but you've got to just go back and read the question, make sure you've done what they've asked. So I'm coming back in the next video to do a few more examples.